seconds?
No, we're over time. We got to begin. Good morning. Welcome to the First Unitarian Church of Providence, where we love beyond belief. Welcome to our Partner Church Sunday. This is the day we have been given. May we make the very most of it starting now together. This is our time to move around and say hi to everybody, move around in body, move around in spirit, make sure that everyone knows how glad we are to be together, that no one sitting near us or in the furthest corner away feels unwelcomed and ungreeted this morning. And before we sit down, can we turn around and wave hello to everybody at home? Hello, everyone at home. It's so good to be with you in every way we are able. And then can we join in the words of our chalice lighting, which are printed in our order of service. This light burns also in our hearts, and it lights the way toward harmony, justice, and hope for all. So welcome again to our long-standing annual tradition, our partner church service, which we hold in conjunction with our Unitarian partner church in Sântichaza, Transylvania, in what is now Romania. Today, the minister of that congregation, Reverend Szabolcs Kelemen, and myself are having an international pulpit exchange. Reverend Kelemen has recorded a sermon that we will hear during our worship this morning, and I recorded one this week, which his congregation has already heard earlier today during their Sunday morning service some hours ago. For this morning, Reverend Kelemen proposed that we talk about unity, even in a world filled with dualities like Democrats and Republicans here in the U.S. or Russian and Ukrainian power interests near where his congregation resides in Romania. As Reverend Kelemen wrote, dualities divide the world and its people, but still it is possible to create unity, including with our two congregations, because we have spiritual values on which we can rely. So this is our topic this morning, and in this spirit, we open with words from the Universalist minister John C. Morgan. We gather here to seek unity of spirit in the midst of diversity, to heal the wounded and confront the oppressor, to instill joy and confidence in our children, to grow in mind, body, and spirit ourselves, and to bear witness to the transforming power of love, beyond which not a single atom nor soul is lost forever. Can we join in the words of our opening hymn, Zekli Aldash, which is number 1043 in the teal-colored hymnal you'll find somewhere before you. And Beth Armstrong, our music director, has been working on this with the choir and is going to help us navigate this song together. Can we rise in body or spirit?
So speaking of unity, there are two parts to this song, and we're going to end up singing them both at the same time. An example of unity out of duality. If you look at 1043, you'll see part 1 and part 2. And part 1 is in Hungarian, or Transylvanian. What language is that? Hungarian. It's in Hungarian. And the choir are the only ones who are going to sing in Hungarian, so your fluttering heart can now relax. Your part is going to be part 2, which is in English. So the way we're going to do this is I'm going to go over to the choir. They're going to sing part 1, and then they're going to sing part 2. And then they're going to sing part 2 again and ask you to join them. I will be waving my arms to remind you. And then you're going to sing part 2 yet again, and this time the choir will sing part 1 while you're singing part 2 so that you can hear them together. And it sounds so nice that I think we're going to do that one more time. So just keep your eye on me. I'm going to be over there, okay?
And then, as hopefully all of us are aware, we are in the process of getting information about a strategic campaign to help renovate our campus. We are getting testimonials for the next month in support of that effort. So I want to welcome up our first speaker for that testimonial series, Hillary Sammons.
Thank you, Liz. So, as the outgoing president, I should be disappearing into the sunset and doing less around here. But oh no, this strategic campaign has captured my energy and interest. And one might ask, what motivates me to be part of the team preparing this strategic campaign? My friends think I'm crazy, that I've lost my mind, I'm so involved in this church, they don't know what's happened to me. So does my family. None of us have been baptized, so this is a big step for me. But I can honestly tell you what motivates me are two things. One, as part of our strategic plan, in order to do the social justice work, the welcoming community, creating this sacred spiritual space that's going to get us through the next 4 years and more, we need to have the capacity in our building to accommodate more people, to do more partnering, to really make sure that our potluck dinners have a code, a kitchen up to code, and fabulous facilities. We really need to get to a place where we can be the church for the city. So the plans that you all developed as part of that strategic plan, they motivate me because I want to make sure we have a campus that can really deliver our plan. But what motivates me even more, and has infected my heart in the last year and a half, is all of you. The love that people have devoted to making a master plan has really inspired me and, quite frankly, blown my mind. The music committee that met for 2 years to research what the value would be to have a full-time music director and are in the process of that search now. What a passionate group. They're irresistible. The kitchen committee, that met last spring. How many of those gals who work in that kitchen at Potluck were there meeting with architects and caterers and really trying to figure out how to professionalize our kitchen so we can not only raise revenue with different events, but have a deluxe facility. The people who met to fix this organ, our beautiful old piece that's fallen apart back there, met for a year and a half visiting other churches, missing these services to listen to other organs, meeting with organ professionals, organ builders. The devotion and time they spent. It just breaks my heart how much people love this place. And in the winter, we had an emergency meeting. We found an architect to figure out how do we renovate this space to preserve its historical integrity, but give it more room so that choir isn't tripping over itself and has adequate space, and we have handicap accessible pews. That crew met in 2 months' time in a pouring rainstorm. They went to Beneficent Church and stood in the rain outdoors, and we went and saw what they've done to improve their church. I have been so inspired by all of you who've invested your time and love in figuring out how to create a master plan that I can't resist advocating that you all come to focus groups. If you can't make this Sunday because the partner church lunch or the Justice League, the next 2 Sundays, get online. We've got Zooms. We keep pumping out meetings. We want your input. And now more than ever, in the times that we live, I read the paper and then I come here and the contrast is unbelievable. The democratic process here, the love, not the hate, the building up of institutions and not breaking them down, you all inspire me tremendously. So I can't even believe how much time and energy I want to give to all of you to make this a better place and a future institution for my grandchildren. So thank you for inspiring me. You're amazing.
In that spirit, can we share the words of our covenant? They're printed in the order of service. All are welcome to say this out loud, and no one is ever required. We, the members of the First Unitarian Church of Providence, with respect for the worth and dignity of each person, with wonder at the light we know by many names, and with gratitude for our deep connection to each other and to the larger web of existence, covenant to walk together in our search for truth, seeking the paths of wisdom, compassion, and justice.
Good morning. Our reading today is the opening to the Platonic dialogue Cratylus, set down by the ancient Greek philosopher Plato around 400 BCE. In his exploration of language and reality, three actual historic individuals who lived in Athens at the time talk up together about whether names are meaningful. Hermogenes was the son of a man called Hipponicus and was a follower of Socrates. Cratylus was, like Socrates, a philosopher, but Cratylus had his own beliefs and teachings. Socrates was the brilliant and well-known philosopher and teacher known for his method of teaching by asking deceptively simple questions that led people into deep conversations about truth and meaning. Implicit in this conversation are questions of knowledge, identity, and how we speak together in a world where some meanings and understandings may change or not over time. So Hermogenes says, suppose we make Socrates a party to this argument. And Cratylus says, well, if you please. Hermogenes, I should explain to you, Socrates, that our friend Cratylus has been arguing about names. He says that they are natural and not conventional, not a portion of the human voice which men agree to use, but that there is a truth or correctness in them, which is the same for Hellenes as it is for barbarians. Whereupon I ask him whether his own name of Cratylus is a true name or not, and he answers yes. And Socrates, yes. Then every man's name, as I tell him, is what he is called? To this he replies, if all the world were to call you Hermogenes, then that would not be your name. And when I am anxious to have further explanation, he is ironical and mysterious, and seems to imply that he has a notion of his own about the matter. And if I would only tell and could entirely convince me, if he chose to be intelligible. Tell me, Socrates, what this oracle means, or rather tell me, if you would be so good, what is your own view of the truth or correctness of names, which I would far sooner hear? Socrates replies, son of Hipponicus, there is an ancient saying that hard is the knowledge of the good, and the knowledge of names is a great part of knowledge. If I had not been so poor, I might have heard the 50 drachma course of the great Prodicus, which is a complete education in grammar and language. These are his own words. And then I should have been more able to answer your question about the correctness of names. But I indeed only heard the 1 drachma course, and therefore I do not know the truth about such matters. I will, however, gladly assist you and Cratylus in the investigation of them. When he declares that your name is not really Hermogenes, I suspect that he is making fun of you. He means to say that you are no true son of Hermes because you are always looking after fortune and never in luck. But as I was saying, there is a great deal of difficulty in this sort of knowledge, and therefore we had better leave the question open until we have heard both sides.
Good morning, everyone. We're now going to share the joys and sorrows that we carry in our hearts in this beloved community, followed by a time of meditation, prayer, and reflection. And then we get this beautiful screen to get a sermon all the way from Transylvania. Reverend Liz will say a few words first, and then we'll get our recording. Now, for our joys and sorrows, from Peg Boyle, now more than ever, I am so grateful for this community. I agree. From Martha Rice Sanders, this Wednesday is the first anniversary of the death of Bill Rice. I miss him always, but am adjusting to life on my own. I hope that his passionate and restless spirit is at peace. From Amy Grant, a candle of sadness for the 38% of Rhode Island residents who are experiencing food insecurities right now. 38%. A candle of thanks for the First U Food Share program and its volunteers who distributed food to 117 households, and extra special thanks to those volunteers who did so outside in the freezing cold. From Leah Campbell, a candle of great joy for my good friends who, after struggling with infertility for 3 years, will be welcoming their first baby this summer. From E.D. Warren, with great joy, we welcomed Azuka Apollo Detroit on the 20th of this month. Azuka means unity in Igbo. And from Dana, a wish for safe and stressless driving as my parents make their annual pilgrimage to Florida for the winter months and keep their sanity among the red policies the state promotes. And from Tom Getz and the Partner Church Committee, a candle of wellness to our spiritual leader and good friend Janet Downing Taylor, who is at home with that dreaded cold that doesn't seem to leave people. Janet, get well soon. We miss you. And this Transylvania Partner Church Sunday is all yours. Let us gather our hearts and minds in the spirit of prayer and meditation and reflection. Remember, during the reflection, if you have lost someone this year, you're welcome to stand or raise your hand so we can hold each other in silent tribute to those losses. Please take a deep breath with me. And again. One more. Spirit of life and love, we've gathered this morning in search of deeper connection. We've come in search of understanding, in search of partnership, in search of community, indeed of unity. Let this be a place not only of talking, but of listening. Let this be a place not only of searching, but of discovery. Let this be a place not only of learning, but of wisdom. Let this be a place not only of meeting, but of sharing. Spirit of compassion, this is our prayer, that we may create here a circle of love, ever expanding, ever widening, ever growing, within and beyond these walls.
I'm reading you just the very beginning and the very end of the sermon that I recorded for our friends over in Santa Jaza as an introduction before we hear from Reverend Kellerman. And as you heard, our reading this morning was from the Cratylus, which was written about 2,500 years ago, and yet it still speaks to this very contemporary issue about how we name and understand what is meaningful, how we talk together across necessarily different understandings that can often be embedded in language, culture, personal ideas and experiences, across even what changes over time and what stays the same. And there's a significant pun in that reading because Hermogenes, who's one of the three people talking, technically means born of Hermes, Hermogenes. So his name is born of Hermes, who was one of the 12 Olympian gods. He was the god of luck, and also he was a messenger, which is why Socrates makes the super funny joke, if you speak ancient Greek, which is about how he's clearly not the son of Hermes because he has terrible luck, and he's always sort of scrounging for what he can manage. He was in fact a mortal person, right? Super not the son of Hermes. So his name is an example, which is what Socrates is saying in that dialogue, of how a name can be real. His name really is Hermogenes, and yet it's not representational. My name, Elizabeth, goes back to ancient Hebrew, Elisheva, and it means God is my oath. And here I am, a minister. So that seems very foresightful. On the other hand, theologically, I'm an agnostic, meaning that while I have a sense of divine power operating in the world, I don't believe anything can be clearly known or named about the existence or nature of God. So, God is my oath is a lot clearer sounding than my own theological position. And my parents, who named and raised me, were both atheists. And in fact, I was not named for the meaning of my name. I was named in honor of Elizabeth Bennet from Pride and Prejudice, which is my mom's favorite book. So my name is not at all prophetic. And this is what Cratylus is talking about. Names, and by extension many words, can mean exactly what they seem to mean, or they can mean something different. They can point beyond themselves in ways that may be meaningful or not. There are, as Reverend Kellerman wrote to me in our email exchange preparing for this Sunday, many dualities all around us, but also it can be even more complicated. There are not just two sides. This is me now, not just two sides or two entities. There's so many sides sometimes, so many entities, further complexifying things, and therefore understanding is not obvious or easy. As Socrates says in that reading, hard is the knowledge of the good. Now I am skipping through my many pages of onward sermon. Hard. Hard with a D is the knowledge of the good. So in this time, when our nation is ever more riven, when we are struggling to preserve the dignity and safety of so many people right here in our congregation and everywhere beyond our walls, whose rights to exist and to belong are so challenged, it is more important than ever to carefully communicate what we believe and how we live out our beliefs and how to strengthen our connections with our religious friends and siblings so that we can all make it through these days with faith, integrity, hope, and yes, joy. In this time when the world is so deeply divided, it is more important than ever to be in conversation with our friends and siblings far away, as well as nearby, as we seek freedom, compassion, and respect for all people near and far. Reverend Kellerman wrote to me last week about the spiritual values on which we can rely to help us look forward together in unity. We at First Unitarian look forward to further thinking and talking together with the congregation in Santa Jaza. and hope for ever better union with each other as we live into all that lies before us. May the spirit of unity move powerfully across the world in these riven and difficult days, and may love bring together all who are divided.
Welcome to the Sister Church and the Partner Church Sunday. And welcome for the ministers, the known and unknown persons there, and the Partner Church congregation. In this year, the Partner Church Sunday is a little bit changed, and a little bit different like in another years. Your minister will keep her service here in Santa Casa, and I will keep my service in front of you. Even my English is a little bit less, but I hope I will be understanding. So, we decided to speak about dualities in the world and about dreaming of shared future in God's kingdom. Dear brothers and sisters, I greet you all in love, joy and hope in the house of the Lord. Today we have gathered here to reflect on the dualities we experience in life, which are present not only in our world, but also within our hearts. Amid the paradoxes of human existence, we seek the truth that strengthens us, showing that life is worth living and creating for. I would like to read a chapter, a verse from the Bible, from the Romans, Paul's letter. Do not be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good. This verse captures the challenge of navigating the dualities we face in our daily lives. In the midst of the struggle between values, János Arany's ballad, The Bards of Wells, illustrated the clash between power and truth, between external compulsion and internal moral duty. The command to overcome evil with good is timeless truth, holding both artistic and historical significance. King Edward heard the voice of the Welsh bards, trapped by the compulsion of power until his death. Instead of seeking understanding and shared future, he was consumed by his insatiable thirst of power. This bright but profound scriptural guidance from Paul's letter to the Romans calls us to fight with the power of goodness despite all the darkness and divisions in the world. But what does this mean when our world is threatened by dualities? The values of the modern world are often divided between two opposite poles. On one side, we find power, war, individualism, and the dominance of money, leading to ruthlessness and a weakening of national consciousness. These worldwide priorities, liberal thinking, personal autonomy, and democratic freedom, often at the expense of communal bonds, the dignity of family, and linguistic identity. On the other side stands the ideal of love that builds community, peace, conservative values, family, and collective responsibility. This perspective reflects God's plan and faces in the preservation of linguistic and national heritage. This duality presents not only social but also spiritual challenges, urging us to find the path between division and peace. But how can we move forward and envision a shared future where God's kingdom becomes a reality? And we can speak each other about God's kingdom. Jesus leads us above dualities when he says, "Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called children of God." On Matthew 5, verse 9. Shakespeare's Hamlet, with its famous soliloquy, "To be or not to be," speaks of inner conflict and finding peace. In the tension of dualities, Jesus' teaching leads us towards peacemaking. True peace is not achieved by proclaiming the truth of only one side, but by introducing the power of love into every situation. How can we do that? At first, serving love and the pursuits of truth. Only serving love and humility can resolve the tension of dualities. George Orwell's Animal Farm reveals how truth is often distorted by self-interests and the thirst for power. True change comes from sacrificial service that prioritizes communal good, as Jesus served and transformed lives. So much we be willing to understand and bridge opposing truths. In communal service, we find true unity. We have to find the roots and the future. Instead of ruthlessness driven by materialism, returning to our roots strengthens us in the values of our culture, our language, as American English, for example, or tradition and national identity are not merely heritage, but are gifts to us enabling us to learn from the past and build the future here in the present. And we have to keep at the third side the hope in God's kingdom. God's kingdom is not built on earthly power, but grows in human hearts. The dream of peace and justice can only be realized when in a divided world we prioritize shared faith, means not identical religion or belief systems, but faith in the power of community and acts of love. Family, as a covenant between two, communal service and compassion are pillars of the future. Let's dream of shared the future. John Donne's words, "No man is an island," remind us that humanity is interconnected, and true future building requires unity and mutual responsibility. The dream of God's kingdom is not the fruit of individual struggle, but a life nourished by shared faith and love. Between us, for example, to dream together of a brighter future does not mean abandoning our convictions, democratic or republican, or whatever you want to believe. It means finding the bridge built on God's love and truth. When the world lies in division, we must unite our hearts and actions in attention and love for one another. God bless you all. Amen. Welcome to the Sister Church and the Partner Church Sunday. And welcome for the ministers, the known and unknown persons.
Our second hymn is number 352 in your gray hymnal, Find a Stillness. Can we rise in body or spirit and sing out? Find a stillness. Please be seated. This is the time for our offering, our opportunity to express gratitude for the life of this church, for all its work, for all its forms of service. Please give as generously as possible to the life of this church, and thank you so much, as always, for all that you give and all that you do and all that you are. Among the many ways we can manifest our faith in these days, I have 3 invitations for you today. The first is that our partner church team is hosting a program today at 12 noon, right after coffee hour, in the Haynes Room in the building in our parish house next door. They will be serving a light lunch, and information about our partner church relationship and highlights of previous visits to Transylvania. So please come and learn more about this unique relationship and the benefits that come from it. Again, that's today at noon in the Haynes Room. Our membership coordinator, Jen Nardone, who is somewhere in the building, because I saw, there she is in the back. So if you're wondering who she is, that's Jen. Wave again, Jen, so anybody new can see who you are. Our membership coordinator, Jen Nardone, is planning our next Path to Membership class for Tuesday evenings, February 4th, 11th, and 18th. Again, those are 3 Tuesdays in February, the 4th, 11th, and 18th. These will be held at 7 o'clock at the church. It's also possible for this to be a hybrid class, which would make it possible for people to join by Zoom if you wish. This is a great opportunity to learn more about First U and about the benefits of being a member. So speak to Jen if you would like to register. She can usually be found in the Newcomers Cafe after worship, which is also in the building next door. And last, we are engaged in a feedback process regarding important and lasting improvements we need to make to our church spaces, including this beautiful meeting house. Can you please raise your hand if you've seen something in the mail or an electronic newsletter or heard in a conversation something about the strategic campaign that is, and of course there was this morning's testimony. Okay, so that's a lot of people, but not everybody. We're trying to make sure everybody is as informed about this as possible. A great deal of time and effort has gone into creating a plan that has been distilled into a brief 20-minute presentation for which we need your feedback. We've begun holding focus group sessions. Each one takes an hour total, 20 minutes of presentation, then time for questions and answers from folks who attend, and then time to fill out a very brief questionnaire. So all we need is, in total, an hour of your time to hear your responses to what is being proposed. There are multiple focus groups every week. They are daytime, they are evening, they are here at the church, they're in some members' homes. We are expecting the greatest number on Sundays after church. So every Sunday for the next few weeks, we have a focus group opportunity that we hope folks will come to. That'll be very easy because you don't have to make an extra trip or even Zoom in. There is one today, immediately after church at noon, up in the auditorium, which is the big room on the second floor of the building next door. So please make a point of getting to today's focus group or another one soon, because there's lots of stuff happening today, and making sure that you're informed and that we're hearing your feedback about the plans that are afoot. And thank you so much in advance for taking the time to get informed and to contribute to what we understand about how those plans look to all the members and friends of our church. Our benediction today is taken from the writing and theology of Francis David, who was the great Unitarian religious leader who founded the Unitarian Church in Transylvania so many centuries ago and so lastingly that it still exists and prospers in many parts of Transylvania today. In this world, there have always been many opinions about faith and salvation. There must be knowledge in faith also. Sanctified reason is the lantern of faith. Religious reform can never be all at once, but gradually, step by step. If they offer something better, I will gladly learn. The most important spiritual function is conscience, the source of all joy and happiness. Conscience will not be quieted by anything less than truth and justice. Salvation must be accomplished here on earth. Can we join in the words for our chalice extinguishing? They are printed in your order of service. We carry the flame of peace and love and hope until we meet again.